1,000 years ago, a video was posted on the YouTube.
Yes, I finally have all 13 Duel Master structure decks, so I can finally do something that I've been wanting to do for a long time, which is putting all of these decks against each other in a tournament to determine which one will come out on top.
And now the tournament has finally concluded, so it is time to take a look back at everything that happened.
Alright, I will just pause because I remember this play. If you look at this position, right, the Braidclaw is forced to attack a shield and the Riding Bone Cool can just take it. It's looking pretty good for Kokojo right now, right? He managed to establish board control, but I remember this top deck from Shobu's deck, and the top deck is...
Don't rush me, Matrix boy. I summon Meteosaur!
Meteosaur, and Meteosaur was just insane because not only it kills the Riding Bone Ghoul and it saves the Braidclaw, but it also puts another body on board, and all of a sudden Kokojo's deck is in big trouble because, I mean, these two creatures can just take the last two shields next turn. Actually not bad, bouncing back into it, but another great top deck, a Draglide, and with 3 Death Smokes gone, there's actually not that much in Kokojo's deck that can deal with that Draglide. But the problem is that none of these creatures really deal with the Draglide. Yeah, I guess Kokojo's deck is just waiting for that Chaos Swarm top deck. Kokojo is not dead yet, but it really needs that Chaos Swarm to be able to survive this. And Swamp Worm coming out, but of course with Swamp Worm the opponent gets to choose, and so the Draglide lives on. And now with 2 attackers, Kokojo's deck needs 2 blockers, and that's 1, but the second card is just a Ghost Touch, which of course is not enough. And with 2 attackers, the game is just over. And now probably the photo side will kill the Eris. But there's a second Mongrelmon coming, so every time a card is destroyed, we can draw 2 cards. So that means that if Photosite trades with Eris, there's 4 cards drawn in hand, since there were 2 creatures destroyed times 2 cards each. So now the Darkness player has a crap ton of cards in hand, and honestly the game is probably just over on this play. Loha Giga blocker is good, but it cannot block Purple Piercer, so what do you do about that, right? Natural Snare has been discarded, so what's the solution here? Drawing more cards with Mistrias, fishing for something, I guess. And oh, there is the something. Okay, Sword of Benevolent Life. It actually makes Bronze Armor Tribe stronger, and that's like the only creature that can kill Purple Piercer. So that gets rid of it. And actually now the light deck is presenting lethal for next turn, which is and okay, Critical Blade kills a blocker, kills Loha Giga, and Super Explosive Volcanodon swings for game. Let's see what happens. The thing is, now Block Rockers has a lot of mana because Bliss Totem got its effect off. Makes sense, plus one of the 2 creatures can kill it, like either Bliss Totem or Neon Cluster. Maybe even you don't lose any of them, and you just use the effect, because you have 3 blockers. Like, you're not gonna die this turn. We know the contents of that deck, and there's no like Scarlet Skyter or anything like that. So there we go, yeah, uses both of the effects, not attacking the Grinning Axe, not afraid of the Grinning Axe. Well, anything, maybe even that Cyclone thing that returns everything to hand, but double Cheng Tang, that's rough. That means that 2 creatures can get tapped every single turn. I mean, it's just so sad, right? The best play here in that situation is just a Ghost Touch, because you can't play any creatures. Any creatures you play will just die. So there we go, Thrash Crawler getting back Cyforce, Cyforce getting back some spells as well. It's not looking good. Glass Shields falling down, Locomotiver! Okay, so sniping a Sparrowgate, but actually, yeah, using Cheng Tang to kill the Locomotiver, breaking the Glass Shield, which is another Locomotiver, but it doesn't matter because Sea Slug swings for game. So it's pretty much guaranteed GG here. Oh, shield trigger Phantom Dragon's Flame. And I actually remember this turn. This next turn will be something. So there's 2 Magma Dragons in hand, but with no speed attackers, there's like no way to go for game here, right? But the draw for the turn is actually Toto Pipichi, which turns all dragons into speed attackers, and both dragons cost 2 gas because of Kokolupia. And Gazaria's dragon is a double breaker because there's no more shields. And all of these things combined, okay, there's a trigger Dark Reverser, but there will need to be more triggers. And actually, yeah, I don't think there's any trigger that wins the game at this point. And there is a trigger, but it's Dimension Gate. So yeah, the fire deck wins because of Toto Pipichi, I guess. And this is looking a bit scary, but the Hard Silence deck does have a lot of blockers, so it's probably fine in that respect if it can get some blockers on board. And there we go, Ruby Grass, that's a good blocker to have. But that's a Windax coming from the from the Twin Storm deck, as that does have a lot of blocker hate. I mean, it's kind of what it has to do at this point. And there we go, 2 more blockers in Pagalaces and Kelp Candle. And as long as these can stay on board, it's actually fine. Like, sure, they're down to 2 shields, but oh. And as I was talking, there's a Tornado Flame that presumably, yeah, kills the Pagalaces, and now the only blocker on board is one with power 1000. So it's time for game 2. Let's see if the Hard Silence deck can bounce back into it. So, oh, and the Pagalaces as well, building up a big blocker wall. These guys can't really do anything against the blocker wall, and one more blocker coming out. And okay, one of the cards that they were holding was Tornado Flame. Understandable, they didn't want to charge that, which does kill the Pagalaces. You know, as long as the blocker wall lives, the silence kill creatures will start to get their effects. But oh my god, okay, that is probably the biggest blocker killer in the deck, Storm Wrangler. That guy can just choose a blocker every time it attacks and essentially kill it. And another Tajima coming out, but yeah, it's just to slow down the deck. It doesn't actually help because Storm Wrangler can just instantly kill the Tajima. But I don't know if there's any trigger that can win this, and there's not, and Gonta swings for game. We will start to see some attacks. It seems like a Moonlight Flash from... oh, never mind. Okay, changed his mind and went for Meteosaur instead to destroy the Super Explosive Volcanodon. It's not looking too good for Shogu's deck. Maybe starter deck has an even better option. No, there's the Moonlight Flash. And of course now, like Volcanodon can destroy Dragite for free, Golden Wing Striker can destroy Balbaho, and Vor can destroy Deadly Fighter. And now there's complete control for the starter deck. It's hard anyway. So Yeren Fang, this puts him at 6 attackers against just 4 shields, so there would have to be 2 triggers, 2 Tornado Flames in shields. And let's see how many there are. And it seems like there's none. No shield triggers, so there we go. And Photoside hits the board, goddamn, okay, that's unfortunate. Again, Photoside, big powerhouse, not much that can deal with it. There is a Spiral Gate, sending it back to hand, and the mana was tapped wrong there, but let's just ignore that for now. And yeah, Pyrofighter Magnus, speed attacker, going all in, which I think it's what you have to do at this point, because if you just wait and you allow Deadly Decay to keep building up board, then you're never gonna win this game. That Pyrofighter, there is no discard, I don't think, so that Pyrofighter will come in swinging, but there's a Marrow Ooze to block him, and probably Photoside is coming back. No, it's a Mongrel Man, which is even better because 3 creatures are dying this turn, which means that 3 cards drawn, and already the Deadly Decay deck is starting to really pull ahead. The Stompatron's deck really needs to end this game fast. And they are trying to do that, summoning Magnus again and the 2-drop to go along with it. Yeah, blocking with Marrow Ooze, which allows him to draw a card because of Mongrel Man's effect. Burning Mane, Pyrofighter, and I think, yeah, here you have to go in. You don't really have much of a choice. So Fire Sweeper going in. And now, not attacking with Pyrofighter, I think it's correct to attack with Burning Mane, because you can't block with Bloody Skeeto, because then you can't have an answer for the Pyrofighter. Of course, every time a blocker dies, you also draw a card on Deadly Decay. And Pyrofighter doesn't really want to attack here because it would just get traded into, and Pyrofighter is that little glimmering hope at the end of the tunnel for the Stompatron's deck. You really don't want to lose that. Yeah, that's a 4 mana for a Death Smoke and drawing a card from it as well. And now 5 mana for, is it Vashana? It's another Mongrel Man. So a bit of a missequencing there because you should have played Mongrel Man before the Death Smoke, but yeah, now every time a creature dies you draw 2 cards, and there's just so many cards in hand and so many answers. That's 7 mana for a Swamp Worm, and checking the deck and deciding to only draw 1 card, afraid of deck out, I guess. And in this position you can probably safely attack because you have 2 blockers, so even if there is 1 Tornado Flame you are still fine. Looking at what to summon from hand, but yeah, it doesn't even matter. No shield trigger and it's over. Look at that, there's like half the deck in hand for the Block Rockers deck because of Neon Cluster value. They have so many options, and it's very difficult to to believe that Dragonoids would come back from this. If I were in a tournament, in a live tournament setting, I would have just GG'd. I would have scooped at this point, but yeah, we have to see the game until the end. Maybe something miraculous happens, you know. There's an Aqua Surfer as well, so yeah, together with the 2 Cheng-Tangs, then the board really will be completely clear. We're just going through the motions. I mean, playing 2 creatures, can't even play them anywhere. And yeah, Cheng-Tang will make sure the board is clear as well. And Cyforce will double break. There's a Phantom Dragon Flame, but it doesn't matter. Game is over. It can even go for shields. But there's a Phantom Dragon's Flame and Gazarius Dragon or Galberius Dragon or however the fuck you say it. And actually Phantom Dragon's Flame deciding to kill Aqua Surfer. Interesting, again hedging against the possibility of a swing back, because I think Dragonoids knows that at this point, if they can just put up a creature every single turn, there is not much that deck can do about it. Because it can, and there's no shield trigger. Thrash Crawler taking back the big 6000 power blocker, which I think helps. It would be great to take back Neon Cluster, but I don't think you have the time to play that now. So I think you have to do that. There's 6 blockers and 5 attackers, but 2 more attackers, and look at the army of 4. When do you ever see that in Duel Masters? 4 of those dragons just on the board, staring them down. And they played the Sea Slug, so now there's 7 blockers and 7 attackers. Who's gonna top deck better? Let's see what... Ooh, Cheng-Tang. Cheng-Tang is interesting because they can start wiping creatures. Next turn they can start mounting the comeback, but if they top deck now, and they do, it's a Phantom Dragon's Flame, and I think that means it's over because one of the blockers is gone. It is GG. There we go, or maybe there's an even better option. There's a Cavern Raider, which, oh I see, evolves into Bark Whip. That's cool because, yeah, now this allows all 3 creatures to swing over those pesky blockers, right? Because Bark Whip powers everything up. Yeah, that's really bad news for the starter set. So breaking the last 2 shields and summoning another creature ready to take the game next turn. But of course that creature is a blocker, which it kind of had to be. Because there's 4 attackers coming in on Twin Swarm, but we know that there's the Wind Axe in hand. We saw it last turn, so that's probably what's gonna end up happening here. Yeah, there's the Wind Axe coming along, killing the blocker, and now 2 mana as well for another creature in Adventure Boar, and the board is just completely wiped clear. But there we go, there's the Bark Whip coming that was searched with Cavern Raider last turn. So let's see what happens here. Twinstorm doesn't have that much removal. But yeah, there's a Bronze Arm Tribe, which doesn't really help in this situation. Brawler Xyler, again, doesn't help. But Bark Whip does help. Okay, so second Bark Whip 2 bar quips, killing those 2 creatures, and these bar quips are each sitting at 7,000 power now. Creatures, like having cheap creatures is always so good in Duel Masters, like in general because of the rule set. But finally, we see a Deadly Fighter Braid Claw on turn 1, and I bet now they wish they had that Gaoha Giga, but maybe they didn't have right mana for it. And no 2-drop either, and this Braid Claw will do some damage, and there's a second Braid Claw. This is already, honestly, just 2 Braid Claws. These guys can go the distance. This is looking scary. But unfortunately, a Senatine J3 to stop all of the aggression. That's unfortunate. Oh, never mind. We have a Comet Missile. We have a Comet Missile to kill that blocker, and oh my god, okay. 4 mana tapped. Oh, Furious Onslaught turning Deadly Fighter into a double breaker. Finally, we see a Furious Onslaught resolve, and let's see if there's a shield trigger. No shield trigger. Oh my god. Let's see. Ooh, there's a Vrima. The Freaky Mojo Totem. This guy can turn all Beast Folks into double breakers, and not even attacking with Brawler Zyger, destroying the Brawler Zyger here, which is an interesting choice, but I guess it makes sense, because if you keep 3 creatures on board and not make them vulnerable, you could conceivably even go for lethal next turn, because they're all double breakers. And Deadly Decay does have game next turn because Vashna can break the last 2 shields. The game pretty much ends on this turn. They're thinking about something, tapping 5 mana for... Ooh, Tornado Flame. And if they can summon another creature, which they can, this triggers Vrima's ability, so all of the Beast Folks now get double breaker, and let's go. So I guess you kind of just have to yellow it and go for game, but one shield trigger is enough to end the game. Let's see, attacking with the smaller power creatures first to play around Burst Shot. And no shield trigger, it's game. How do you deal with 3 creatures here? Torch Quencher can kill one of them, but that's pretty much it. And it's just looking like it's gonna be over. But I do remember what happens this turn, and let me tell you, it's just completely wild. I remember this play, and I would just say this is the craziest play I've seen in this entire tournament. There's a Deadly Fighter followed by Furious Onslaught, and let's just pause to appreciate the synergy here. So, Furious Onslaught makes Deadly Fighter Braid Claw a double breaker. But not only that, it makes it an Armored Dragon, and because it is now an Armored Dragon, it gets the Speed Attacker ability from Totopipichi. And not only that, but Furious Onslaught has also made Torch Quencher into a double breaker, so all of a sudden we were threatening 3 shields with what we had on board, and then with just 5 mana, we have 2 double breakers and 2 attackers, and we're just threatening lethal. I've never seen like something go from 3 shields to lethal with just 5 mana ever when playing Duel Master, so the synergy here is just insane. Of course, 1 shield trigger from the Twinstorm deck is enough to turn the game around, so let's see if there is such a shield trigger coming. If there isn't, then Dragonoids will be our champion. And no shield trigger in the first. Fairy Life, and it's not enough, it's GG.